Hi, Carol again, and I'm here to show you how to do the red arrow highway block. And this block only uses two colors, your main background and then another color. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to cut that background fabric into two 5 1/4 squares. Remember, always check the measurement in the book. We're going to cut two of those. And then we're going to cut some 1.5 by 4.5 inch strips. So we're going to take those two background squares. And the first thing I'm going to do is take them and I'm going to cut on the diagonal in between the two of them. And I am going to actually sew for you a little bit here because I want you to see the next step. And then I'm going to take a piece of my print fabric and I'm going to place that, kind of dividing it. It's bigger than that angle is, so you just get a little extra on the top and the bottom. And we are going to have extra, so we will be able to trim it down later. So I'm going to go ahead and sew that with a 1/4 inch. And while I'm sewing, I'll just remind you of a couple little things. I always like to best press my fabric before I start making any of my cuts. And the other thing is, when you're making your cuts, look at the size of all your cuts so you don't cut the wrong thing first. Pay attention to how big the pieces that we gave you. Do my scissors. And then I'm going to put the other side of that triangle on here. And again, I'm using my glue stick instead of pins because I don't have to pull the pins out. And it's a little faster for the demo. And Gerald doesn't like when I sew over pins. And neither does our regular technician. So get that on there again. So that's going in between that square that we split on the diagonal. Okay. Okay, so we got those. And now I am going to have, so you have a square like that you cut in half with the other strip in between. I am going to press this one. My sample's a little different than your guys, but I am going to press it towards the center because I don't want that orange showing through in my seam allowance. So again, I'm pressing that. Now here's where I want you to especially pay attention. So I have that ready. Now, what it tells you to do, and again, this starts on page 11. I'm going to take the 5 1/4 of the print fabric, and I'm going to lay that on top of this piece that I just made. Okay, just kind of centering it the best you can. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my ruler, and I'm going to mark the diagonal line down through there. So I think you can see that. So I will put a pin in this one, maybe, just to kind of hold a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew down this side of the line and then that side of the line. And I want you to see that that line I'm sewing is opposite of this. And I'll make sure you special note of that before I cut it. So again, I'm going to sew 1/4 inch down, both sides of the line. You can make it a little scanty because this block, and the beauty of the blocks we've done so far is they're all going to get trimmed down a little bit after the fact. So if you piece like me and you're 90% accurate, you'll be able to clean it up on the trim. And I do want to show you how to trim this one, so I am going through the whole process on this. Okay, so now I'm going down, same thing on the other side. go ahead and touch my favorite button, the scissors. Okay, so I want you to see what I've done here. So if we look on the back side, oops, kind of blendy, but this stitching is opposite of the little beam in the middle. So keep that in mind or you're gonna have to call for some more fabric. So I'm gonna lay him down, take my ruler again, and I'm gonna put that on the line I already drew, going corner to corner, and then cut those two apart on the line I drew, and then, and I'll just do one of these for you, I'm going to open that up, and I have 1/4 of the block. Now, what we need to do is trim this piece down to 4.5 inches. So if I just take this and slap my ruler on there and do it down there, everything's not going to quite look right. So what I want you to do is notice on my 4.5 inch square, I have a diagonal line there. So if I keep that diagonal line over here, like that, and then make the points of the ruler be on the point of that line. Then when I go to trim it up, I have a block that's not only 4.5 inches, but it's also at the right place. You don't have a bunch of crazy dog ears or anything like that. So got that and that. Okay, so there we go. He's trimmed and pretty much ready to go. And I would repeat that with this guy. So to assemble the block, I have 2 of these done, and then I put my little beam in between those 2. Then my little 1.5 inch square that I cut, I put one on each end of that, and then I'm going to place him here and sew that guy down there. And then after I trim this guy, that will complete the block. Of course, he needs trimmed down, but I think you can get the idea on how to construct that block. The other thing I want to point out in your instructions is this block trims to 9.5. So all the blocks are different size, so don't get all caught up in they're not the same size blocks, because we're just going to add extra sashings into different things to make everything fit together. So if you're not comfortable trimming it down, just keep it as it is for right now, and when we start assembly, then we can talk about the trimming down of the blocks. And that's it. That's your 2 blocks for month 1 on Follow Your Heart Saturday Sampler.